This is Eric Rutan of Cannibal Corpse. You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast with Andrew McKay Smith.
G'day everybody, I hope you're well. I have an absolute milestone of a conversation to share with you. You're about to hear from Jesper Strömblad and Joachim Jake E from Cyhra. But everybody knows, well, most people listening to this will certainly be aware that Jesper, he's the principal force behind 4 of the greatest albums in recorded heavy metal history. I'm talking about the Jester Race, Horacle, Colony, Clayman, all from In Flames. Jesper's guitar playing, it built an entire genre. He is as important to death metal as what Stuart Anstis is to black metal. He unlocked a code, introducing new wave of British heavy metal in the way that he did it. He built on what At the Gates had started, and even Carcass, Bill Steering Carcass. It's just a tremendous honour to be able to talk to Jesper, and it was quite unexpected, as you'll hear and see if you're watching it on YouTube, throughout the introductory phases of the chat. And that's where I'm going to give a huge shout out to Jake E, because he understood that this is very important to me, that we have this conversation with Jesper, who wasn't scheduled for the chat. It was only Jake E, in honour of the new album from Cyhra. This one is titled The Vertigo Trigger. It'll be out on August 18th via Nuclear Blast. So, yes, we do talk about the album The Vertigo Trigger. I am very much respectful of the reason why these conversations come about, but a conversation with Jesper was far too good to pass up. So, yeah, we dive into the past, and Jesper does share. He shares some of his recent travails, well, maybe not so recent travails, but it was just fantastic to interface with him. And I hope we can do it again, but a conversation with Jesper is as rare as hen's teeth. We all know that. It's just a fantastic sliding doors moment that he happened to be in the rehearsal studio that Jake E was conducting his side of the interview from. Now, I have picked a tune. I could only pick one, and you'll find out why throughout the chat. If you are listening via the podcast apps, you'll hear If I from the new album, The Vertigo Trigger. Once it's done, we'll dive into the chat with Jesper and Jake E. And for you people on YouTube, you know the drill. I can't play music on the platform, so here they are right now. Either way, let's get to it.
Fantastic. How you doing?
Great. We're both early. We're both keen.
Yeah, I had I'm doing like 8 or 9 interviews in a row today, and I got one cancellation just before you. So I was just thinking that I'm working a little bit on music here on the side, and then I'm just connecting, and then I'll see when you jump in. So that was great.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah. Is the band there with you, or are you just doing it solo?
I am here, but Jesper is here as well, but he went out for a smoke, so he will come in during the interview.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, well, that's just a bonus, mate, to be honest, because both of you guys together are crafting magnificent metal at the moment, and Jesper has been largely hidden for the last few years, it's probably fair to say, even though when I say hidden, from these interviews.
Yeah, exactly.
He's been very creative, but he hasn't done a lot, so if it's cool with you, mate, if you can join us, that'd be magnificent.
Absolutely. I'll go and get him straight away.
Thanks, mate.
He's on his way. Woohoo!
Thanks, Jake. Appreciate that, brother.
Oh, no problem. No problem. I'm just happy to keep him away from smoking.
Hi there.
Jesper. How are you, mate? Well, good. I've been looking forward to having a discussion with you for a couple of decades. I must say I've been a fan of your guitar work, to say the least, for a very, very long time, as far back as the Jester Race.
Thank you, mate.
Yeah. Look, I understand. You're right.
Decades. He said decades. That means that you're pretty old.
I know I am.
I'm pretty old too, so I can empathise too. Cool, yeah. Well, look, I'll quit the fanboying on In Flames and Jesper, and I'll get stuck into what you guys are doing here with. Now, correct me if I mispronounce the name, but Jake, you and I have had a conversation before, and it's Cyhra, isn't it?
Yeah, correctly.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, look,
it's so funny. I just gotta add that it's so funny that it's always the southern countries of the globe that has the biggest problem pronouncing the name correctly. I don't know why that is, but yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you. I think maybe because we don't have gendered language, like the Latin languages do, and names and words that end in vowels can sometimes put us a bit off. That's just as a random explanation, but God, who knows? I remember from our last chat, which I didn't listen to be honest with you. I probably should have, but I kind of had that in the back of my mind thinking it was Cyhra. So glad to be right on that one.
Fantastic.
But it is a little tricky name. It is.
Indeed, yeah. Well, look, congratulations to both of you. Without pissing in your pocket, you've crafted a near-perfect modern metal album. Given that you've got elements of metalcore, shred, orchestral movements or maneuvers, as I like to call them, and even some FM radio sheen, even some slight, I wouldn't say hip-hop, but, that dancey hip-hoppy sound, and just entering in ever gradually. But do you both feel, or Jake, do you feel like as though this is the fully realised vision of the band on the Vertigo Trigger that you wanted when you started a few years back when you left Amaranthi?
I would say that me and Jesper, we've been discussing this since the first album, that we want to go a little bit, like I think that we found out what is Cyhra. It's about, great melodies, great hooks, great vocal melodies, and, songs that you could sing along to. But when it comes to the production, I think that we've been talking about that we want to have Cyhra dress up in a little bit more modern clothes. We want it to be accessible for more fans, but we still don't want to lose our core fans. But we also don't want to be like this German power metal band that some people tend to believe that we are. And we rather want to go into a more modern kind of approach, and like near us bands in production quality that like stuff like Falling in Reverse has been doing, and so on, but still not sound like them, but like add that kind of aspects into the music. Am I right or am I wrong?
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And I think with this album is kind of a catalyst to what we can utvecklas, progress a lot, because we don't have any label on our music, so we can experiment a lot. We can add whatever, more keys, more drum loops, whatever it's gonna be, but that's in the future. And I think this album is a perfect. It's I think it's a little bit darker than the previous ones.
Yeah, maybe.
And not as up tempo. It's. Am I right? Well, the new single is very up tempo.
Yeah.
If you compare it to the other songs, it's mid tempo.
I would say that we have upped the tempo a little bit on this album, actually, and we have more songs that are a little bit faster. But
maybe I listened to the wrong album.
Yeah.
No, but okay, not maybe mid tempo.
No, but
it's some vibe in it, and it has a lot to do with the lyrics also. I think.
Yeah.
That makes it kind of heavy to listen to Jake's brain.
Yeah, I'm hearing you. Okay, so there's two parts to that, which is that, okay, first of all, Jesper, I'm going to ask you, since you've just finished speaking, did you write If I?
No.
I thought that had your songwriting prowess all over it.
Here's the funny thing. So the whole song is a homage towards Jesper from Oige. So Oige more or less wrote it because, Jesper has been a great influence for Oige when Oige grew up, and, that. So he actually made an episode on his YouTube channel where he said, writing a song in the style of In Flames. And, you know, he was talking a lot about Jesper's influence, that, you know, how much he was listening to Jesper and stuff like that back in the days. And so there was a lot of that song that we kept in this song. But you had some ideas coming into the song, so you were part of it.
Yeah, I was. But when I heard it first time, I was really surprised, because this is not what I would come up with in Cyhra, because I never imagined us playing this fast, to be honest.
No, there's two.
It's very, yeah, old color, yeah, homage to melodic. It's not, of course, it's not melodic death metal, but there is some fragments of it.
Yeah, but also the title implements a little bit of a word game, which I think is funny.
Now EF, IF.
Oh, it
That's
does
right.
too. Nice work. I see what you did there. Congratulations. Yeah. Didn't pick that up initially.
Who is I?
Yeah, if I is me, and you know, if I, you know, if we would have been them or you, but you know, it's a word game. You could puzzle it together as much as you like.
I was just thinking, well, okay, IF, I. What is I?
Yeah,
Maybe
you flip it around. What if I were them?
Yeah, exactly. I see what happened there. In Flames' I as in my contribution to the band after the fact, especially given that they're drawing on those magnificent albums from the late 90s that you were such a crucial part of there, Jesper. Because that's what it, straight away, as soon as I heard that song, I was like, that's Jesper. But now I understand, courtesy of that explanation, that's someone honouring your commitment and your contribution.
That is what it's all about.
Oh, that's great. I didn't know that, to be honest.
But for you, Jake, touching on the lyrics there, Jesper's talked about the lyrics there. So what were the specific lyric themes that you wanted to address this time around?
So first album, we did a lot of like deep digging and diving into, you know, Jesper's old past and problems. And I more or less interviewed Jesper on the first album, and you know, wrote the lyrics after what he told me, and we collaborated a lot of that. And that was great. Second album, I wrote most of the lyrics from like a concept of where people could, you know, recollect themselves in the lyrics. And you know, I did not necessarily wrote them from my perspective, but I wrote about things that people could relate to. And on this third album, I wrote it a lot about my own feelings about, and many of the song is about my death anxiety that has been lingering on me since I was just a little kid, and both me and Jesper have had the same kind of problems, and we've been talking a lot about these subjects, and some of the songs are, you know, a message to my kids about that, you know, one day I'm not going to be here, so you know. Please listen to what I'm saying. You know, don't follow any other's direction. Do it your way. Take care about yourself, and you know, make sure you live your life to the fullest. And I'm gonna miss to not be there when you grow up. You know, kind of stuff like that. And you know, pretty hard subject, but it helped me a lot to actually write these lyrics, because it was almost like going to the psychiatrist. But you were talking to yourself while you were writing the lyrics. But they're pretty personal on this album, I must say.
Did you what sort of editing process did you go through? So they're obviously very personal lyrics. So did you share the lyrics with Jesper, and did you invite feedback?
Yes, I did. I showed them, and we had discussions about it. But I think that both for you and I, we have a problem talking about it as well, because we're always going in. Whenever you talk about it, you
relate a lot to it. It's not a day go by that we are very aware of our mortality.
Yeah,
and that's so dumb. You know, what you're supposed to do is to be present.
Yeah.
Now we're talking to you. I'm not gonna go, maybe, but I'm not gonna go drop dead next 30 minutes. You know, it's important to try and learn to be in the present, because there's no point dwelling about that stuff, because that's definitely going to happen.
It's very hard, though, isn't it? To your point, though, to your exact point there, Jesper, it's very hard if you're a deep thinker not to transport yourself back into these moments in time where you felt less than satisfied with an outcome, or your emotional state's been a bit dissonant or what have you. But it's in those moments too that you can write your most profound lyrics and draw on your most profound inspirations for the lyrics.
And it's also, I wouldn't say it scares me, but what I've been through the last 10 years, it's a miracle I'm actually sitting here talking to you.
Yeah, you are the man with 9 lives, absolutely.
I'm the Highlander.
Yeah, you're.
Knock on wood. But now I'm doing great. For a long time, I said that before, but a lot of things have happened. I have a good team behind me that helps me out, and if I can be personal, just say that 2 years ago, if I had the impulses to do some substances or whatever, I would do it. And now I had the impulses, but the next day I just realized that I didn't do anything about it. I distract myself. I now got more tools to when these impulses come. I mean, this is a progressive piece that I have to nurture the rest of my life. And so far so good. I say just one step ahead of the other. I never set any big goals. I have my small goals. I'm gonna do a show in 1 week.
Yeah,
that's in Sweden, so I don't have to fly over the pond like doing this. KBT, baby steps.
Yeah,
like try to increase your comfort zone. Do things that you maybe feel uncomfortable with. But just think that it's just mindfuck. It's just mindfucks. And all those demons that said to me earlier that when I've been clean for a while, then something's gonna happen to you. Then I orchestrate my own accident by having a relapse.
Exactly.
But when they enter they visit me nowadays, I just say fuck off.
Fantastic.
Because there's no logic. There's no logic in it.
No, especially what you've been telling me about that expectation anxiety.
Exactly.
When you're in a state where you're feeling great, but your body is so used to being in a bad place, so that your body is just waiting for the bad day to come. Why am I feeling great today? I should be feeling bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that must be a fucking hell.
It is, but I got a lot of tips. I have a small mantras that I do with myself that makes my mindset a much more positive mindset. And I think you've seen it, and I think the band's seen it, and people around me sees it as well. So usually I say, I'm optimistic, I'm hopeful this time, but I don't say that. I'm just saying one day at a time.
Yeah.
And with this, they say if you try something all over and over again and expect the same result, if you expect another result, it's not going to happen. So you have to step up, as I did. I took professional help. I do this and I do that I didn't do before, and that helped me tremendously.
Now it's been a long journey, but it feels like you're finally coming back to your feet again, and that is fantastic.
Yeah, it's just a discipline that's lacks a little. But I do my best.
Well, look, I've got to say, Jesper, you certainly are one of the most important guitarists in metal post Trey Exagtos. So post 1989, post 1990. Josh Travis has come along recently, and he's doing some magnificent things. But I'm 45, so when you go back into my era, I'm talking about yourself and Stuart Anstis from Cradle of Filth, and you introduced new wave of British heavy metal guitar playing to death metal and metalcore. Really, metalcore came well after you guys, and Stuart, of course, did it to black metal. But I have to ask, and I've been wanting to ask this question for many years now for you, but do you understand how truly beloved you are by the global metal community?
Do you understand that?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, the problem with me, my self-esteem is not the best, so I have problems to absorb all the love and the support I get, and but I do logically, and I do appreciate it more and more, and
But I don't think that I don't think that you
wouldn't say
understand
it's,
how loved and respected you are.
No.
You should walk the street with Jesper We Trust T-shirt.
That's a good idea for a Cyhra band T-shirt right there.
There's nothing that is big-headed with Jesper at all. And I'm like, Jesper and I have been, best friends for years. But when I grew up, I loved Jesper's guitar playing before we got to know each other, and I used to say that when we play live, I have to pinch my arm because I'm standing with one of my childhood heroes on stage. But there's one thing that is big-headed with Jesper, and that is when we're writing songs and we have an argument about is it my idea or if it's Jesper's idea that is gonna win the argument. And Jesper always looks at me and asks me, so how many Grammys do you have? And I say, no, I only got nominations. Well, then my idea is the better.
Well, that's getting old now. I have to come up with something new. But then he can go out and show all his gold records he has. So no, but it's just for fun. Sometimes when we hardly arguing about something, we're really compatible when we're writing songs. But there can be, should it be C? Should it be D? It should be D. Well, who has all the Grammys?
Yeah,
that
exactly.
means I know. No, but it's just a joke.
Yeah, it's a funny thing.
I hear you. But Jake, you sound like you definitely, you and Jesper, I mean, this is the future here, but you're a bit like me in that you understand the impact of Jesper's past. So just for a moment, just to go back to 1996 with the Jester race, Horacle in 97, Colony in 99, and then Clayman in year 2000, the only other band in metal history, potentially even in rock history, so rock and metal history combined, that had 4 stone cold absolute no argument classics in their catalogue is Iron Maiden. And Jesper, your guitar playing and your songwriting is the reason I believe that those 4 albums are so crucial in any person who understands heavy metal that is a connoisseur loves those 4 albums there. So Jake, do you feel the same way?
Absolutely. I think that I would not be where I am in my writing process without these albums. And there's so many other bands that would not have a career without these albums. I mean, you're friends with many of these bands nowadays, but what's his name? Travis?
Adam? Killswitch?
Killswitch, yeah, the Killswitch guys.
I mean, we could hear that.
But they've said it themselves as well.
Yeah,
they would say they said that they would never have been a band and they would never have the success except for Matt Heafy. Yeah, that was the guy that I was thinking about.
That's very telling.
They all say that they would not have had a career without these albums. So it's fantastic albums, and it's my childhood.
But it's very hard to be objective in that. No, subjective. In that, you can't really absorb that. When you can't.
No,
but I do. I do am aware of it, and not me alone, of course. But there's so many people that come up to me and say that you're the reason I pick up and learn how to play guitar. And also I remember when I was ambassador for PV, and they said, "How do you get your sound? How do you do it?" Yeah, just plug in, just buy a PV 5150 and plug it in, and you got it. But most of it is in the fingers. It is,
True.
So that's cool.
Yeah. Well, and look, it's great that with Jake, and if I'm not mistaken, are you still a part of the Halo Effect as well? Or you certainly were on the last album cycle there in terms of the recording. So can you talk about that?
Say again, please.
If you're still a part of the Halo Effect.
Oh yeah, I'm here. I am actually the bass player these days,
but not for Halo Effect.
Oh, you're talking about Halo Effect. Yeah, 100%. I just need this time not to rush things. To go on the tour would be very hard for me right now, and travel. A lot of things. I had a backlash a couple of years ago, and I'm still working on it. And it has to do with social anxiety and all that stuff that I always suffer from. But then you always have the Johnny Walker method, that cures it all. I don't have that anymore. So I am 100% part of the band, and they are supporting me 100%. And I have a great stand-in, Jensen, till I'm back. So I'm thinking I'm gonna be on stage early next year for the first time. So I take baby steps. We have a show next week with Cyhra, and then we have another one.
And we have three shows coming up with Cyhra that you're going to participate in.
Yeah, two in August.
But they're all homebound, so they're Swedish, so way easier. And you've been doing the same thing with Halo Effect. You've been playing with Halo Effect when they've been around in Sweden. So yeah.
Yeah, I did a guest appearance. The last 3 songs on one show. Felt great. All this came back to me that this is where I belong. And when the show was over, can we play more songs, please? Because I was up for 4 songs, and it was the greatest feeling.
Fantastic, yeah. So I'll ask one more question about In Flames, and I've spoken to the other members of the band, the current members of the band, about this, particularly Anders, who you can appreciate. I'll frame this question first, but look, he's not that keen to acknowledge the change in the band's sound post-soundtrack to your escape, but to me that sounded like when you were no longer part of the songwriting collective, if you like. I felt like as though your songs were no longer part of what that band was all about. Am I correct in saying that? Because, us old fans, we get what happened, but I feel like within the band themselves, they're not really willing to discuss, particularly in interviews, that there has been that huge change from the late 90s and early 2000s to what happened after Soundtrack.
Now, I could actually answer that question for Jesper first, because like both me and Jesper, we are in the same kind of situation, leaving bands and whatever. Obviously, you don't want, as a band, you don't want to put focus on past members and whatever. I understand that, but I felt this. I felt the same thing with Amaranth, where they in interviews said that it doesn't matter that Jake is not with us anymore because he never wrote anything, even though I was one of the main songwriters, and like trying to rewrite the history because they want to look better themselves. I'm not saying anything about In Flames, but I can understand In Flames not wanted to answer a question because they're promoting material that they're doing now, and they don't want to talk about the past. You understand what I mean? I
have to correct you, but Soundtrack was not my last album. It was.
No, I knew that, but the sound changed significantly after that. That was all.
It was actually very. We wanted to do something different. It's much more scaled from melodies and what we used to sound like. And I had a bunch of melodies that was scrapped, actually. And but I think it came out pretty cool, and there also is some of the songs from that album is those that I liked to play. They worked really good live. We're thinking live while we're doing that. Wow.
For me as a fan, I love that album. I think that was like a natural progression in the band's development. Yeah.
And then the last one was too much hassle. Not hassle, but it was we were going to completely different directions. I wanted to stay death metal-ish, and certain individuals wanted to go more radio friendly. So it was not a good time in the band, so I decided to leave. Actually, because I felt that when I was on tour, I remember one of the last shows I did, I was watching the audience and I wished I was one of the guys in the audience. I don't want to stand up here. And then I felt I didn't feel that it was fair to the people who come see the band. It was not fair to me or the other members. That's where I decided to leave. And then, they drastically changed. Maybe not the album after, but then, the later ones that came out. But that's they still have Björn, and Björn is the
he's
master.
Yeah, he's fantastic when it comes to riffing. Yeah,
still have Björn. That sounded bad. I mean,
didn't mean
no,
that
Jesper,
way.
you're right. Jesper, you're actually spot on. I've spoken to Björn about these topics, and he's not as
something got lost. Of course, something got lost with when I left. Björn was without his. You know, we
was like an airplane with its wing clip sort of thing. It sort of went this way. Yeah,
he had to do everything himself, and they did a great job, I think. But for me, it doesn't. A little bit the soul disappeared, and it hasn't to do with me, but it has to do with the last original member left the band. I think a little bit. But they're still doing great. They're institution. I mean, they still play huge crowds, festivals, and doing good job. Have great musicians with them, but I don't know.
We wish them all the best.
Of course.
We don't have much time left, so let's see if we have anything more about the album.
Yeah, I'll just say, Bjorn, fantastic fella too. Yeah, I've had a good conversation with him about it all, just to tie up that loop there. Yeah. Look, about the album, I just feel like as though 3 albums into it right now, you've really established what you guys are all about, what Cyhra is indeed all about. But this is as great an album as this is, and I've already mentioned that it's a near perfect modern metal album up top. What do you think the future holds for the band? Do you feel like the band's sound needs to evolve even further?
I don't know. I mean, like, we will not change our attitude and start to play black metal or anything like that. We don't. I don't think that we have any need of, changing our way of playing or our way of writing songs. We are always going to be the band that are going to write songs that is easy to sing along to and be a band that people can really enjoy live and bring a smile to the face of the fans. What we hope with the band, though, I mean, like, there's always a natural progression when it comes to producing and sound of an album or sound of a song, or bringing new elements, or go into finding new, more modern way of sounding or whatever. But that is just the future. I mean, you could be Iron Maiden and sound exactly the same on all on every single album, but I think that it's important for a band to evolve, but within the bubble that the band is in. You're
a little bit outside the box, maybe.
Yeah, but still, you need to. It's not that we're starting to sing in our native language all of a sudden and just do ballads, or
have a gimmick.
Yeah, have a gimmick. It's always going to be that thing. What I hope with the band is that I think that we deserve a recognition between, like, there's still so many people around the world that does not know who we are, but all people so far that has come to me and like, oh, I just recently found out about you and I fucking love you. I think that there's so many people out there that can appreciate our music, but for some reason with the pandemic, we got lost a little bit. We still have great streaming numbers and so on and so forth, but I still think that there's a lot of old fans of our old bands that still doesn't know that this is what we do. So I just hope for the future to be able to bring back bring in new fans into the equation?
Well, I'll do my bit here via my podcast, no doubt. Jake, congratulations on being a great songwriter too, by the way. But managing to, you're a great vocalist, but you've got such a strong partnership here with Jesper. Can't wait to hear what you guys produce in the future off the back of this very strong album here. So, good luck, gents, and Jake, thank you, and Jesper. It's lovely to finally meet you.
Thank you so much. It was great to talk to you again, and I hope to
nice to meet you.
Hope to have a conversation about life and music again very, very soon.
I have no doubt. Yeah, you guys stay with Nuclear Blast, and we definitely will.
Absolutely.
No
have a great evening now.
Yeah, have a good night.
Well, there you have it. They don't come along like that often, do they? That's a bloke that's been on my bucket list for, I would say, decades at this point. I remember as a young fella hearing In Flames and just thinking, who is the fella behind that guitar style? Bjorn had a lot to do with it too, but he started as the band's drummer, In Flames' drummer. Before switching over to guitar, Jesper was there from the very beginning on the guitar, so he must receive the lion's share of that credit there for all of that new wave of British heavy metal innovation into extreme metal. Okay, so if you enjoyed that chat, maybe you like the others that I've done plenty of them, well over 700 at this point. Go to scarsandguitars.com, and if you like listening, I reckon you like reading too. What do you think? Well, you're in luck, because I've written a book, Scars and Guitars, Conversations from the World of Heavy Metal and Beyond, Volume 1. I intend to release Volume 2 sometime whenever I get around to it. But click on the link in the banner on the website. You'll be taken to a marketplace of your choice. You know what to do from there. There's more information about the book coming up. But before we get to that, I'll bid you a fond farewell. My name's Andrew Mackay-Smith, and I'm the host of the Scars and Guitars podcast. Until next time, it's a very goodbye for now.
This is Eric Rattan of Cannibal Corpse. You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast with Andrew Mackay-Smith.
I've been the host of the Scars and Guitars podcast since 2017. The first musician I interviewed for the show was David Vincent from Morbid Angel, and things have just snowballed from there. In all, I've posted almost 650 podcast episodes featuring conversations with many of the leading lights of rock, heavy metal, and beyond. It just got to a point where I thought, I need to write a book about all this, so that's exactly what I did. In Scars and Guitars Volume 1, you'll read a heap of deep reveals and commentary, such as Des Fafara talking about Coal Chamber and why the band will never return.
You know, if you're a band just starting out, you need to hear me. Do not start a band with partners. Ever.
Yeah, wise words there. Sage advice, mate, for anybody.
Don't ever, because I can't go do Coal Chamber right now unless I get others involved.
Phil Anselmo talks about the episode in his career which gives him the greatest sense of accomplishment.
I think the staying power of the fans and the staying power of the songs, you know, whether it's Pantera, Down, or Superjoint, the fans remember the songs.
Alex Skolnick from Testament confirms that, yes, playing the guitar in Ozzy's band is anything but an ordinary gig. Will Silent Oz from Dimmu Borgir write a book? Pa from Sabaton gives advice to people who want to start a band.
Look at the team around you, look at the bandmates. If the guys want to be on the stage, then it's all cool. If the guys want to be backstage, then it's not going to be cool.
Current and former members of Cradle of Filth discuss the band's seminal 90s material. Read about the reaction to George Lynch and Mark from Suicide Silence's comments when they throw shade at then President Donald Trump.
We have this idiotic monster, you know, this egotistical, self-aggrandizing, complete piece of shit in there. I just can't understand how we've gotten to this place.
And yeah, we kicked a hornet's nest with Sepultura. Percussive overlord Gene Hoglan talks about recording with Chuck Schuldiner.
Chuck was always, he was very open-minded, and he was into having his musicians that were playing with him just reach out for the best stuff that they had.
Phil Campbell from Motorhead discusses what it takes to get sober. John Five answers his critics who dismiss his tenure with Marilyn Manson.
my name is John 5, and Manson gave me that name, and I had some of the best years of my life in that band and learned a lot.
And we get the lowdown on Treyarch Zagtoth from those who would know, including his mother. All across Scars and Guitars Volume 1, there are moments of tension, relief, tragedy, exhilaration, and throughout it all, you'll obtain insight that I believe no one else has managed to obtain from many of your favourite artists. So treat yourself. Scars and Guitars Volume 1 is currently available as an ebook with a print edition on the horizon. Follow the links attached and download a sample. I'm sure you'll be compelled to read the whole book.